Hey guys, we've recently partnered with the social media platform Go Wild to combat mainstream social media censorship. If you're tired of having your hunting and outdoor posts taken down and flagged, be sure to check out Go Wild, which was built by outdoorsmen and women just like you. Go Wild is a free social community. Not only are your photos not censored, but they are also encouraged on Go Wild. Go Wild gives you points for things like sharing your trophies, gear reviews, and inviting friends. As you earn more points, you unlock awesome rewards such as gift cards, free swag, knives, and huge discounts on brands like Garmin and Vortex. Oh, and if you create a free account, you can unlock $10 just for trying it out. Use code HTW to receive 10% off your order today. Download Go Wild at gowild.com or in the App Store.
To hunt the wild, to hunt the wild, gonna hunt the wild.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. I'm your host, Adam Bowlds. Today, I'm joined with Garret Crowder of 5% TV. How you doing, Garret?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good. Everybody listening, don't mind my voice. I'm going to try not to do too much talking in this podcast. I seem to be losing my voice and can't seem to recover from it, but we're going to keep putting out info and keep getting stuff out to you guys. So we're going to go ahead and dive into it. So, Garret, can you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about you?
Yeah, so my name's Garret Crowder. I'm from North Carolina, specifically the Piedmont region up around Raleigh. This was my first deer season of bow hunting. I do all kinds of hunting. The only one I haven't really got into yet is duck hunting and goose hunting, but I do just about everything else: rabbit, squirrel, dove, turkey, and I don't do bear. I haven't done bear yet.
No bear. How far, just for anybody that doesn't know, like where that town's at and everything, how far from like the coast are you?
So I would say from here to like the coast, it would be probably a good 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay.
So not
So,
terribly far, but
so it's more, is it more mountainy kind of where you're at, like hilly and mountainy, or?
it's pretty flat out here. I mean, we do have elevation changes and stuff, but it's not like the mountains. I'm actually about a little bit closer to the foothills of the Appalachians than I am to the coast. I don't know if you've ever heard of Uwharrie, but Uwharrie is about 2 hours west of here.
So with this voice thing going on with me and my throat, and you living in North Carolina, you probably get some moonshine or something to get that straightened out.
Oh God, yeah, I know an old moonshiner. He was a bootlegger back in the day.
All right, maybe we shouldn't talk about that on here. I don't know.
Sorry.
So tell everybody kind of how you got started hunting and in the outdoors and all that.
So I started just kind of dabbling in it whenever I was probably 8 or 9 years old. My grandpa was hunting wasn't a big thing for my dad and grandpa, but they kind of started easing me into like things like dove hunting. He knew some farmers that were having like issues with groundhogs. And so, 8 or 9 years old, I was walking around out there in the fields with a 22 mag, trying to shoot groundhogs, and then in September or whatever, yeah, September is dove season, so I'd be out there shooting doves with a 20 gauge, a little single shot 20 gauge, because I remember how bad he kicked me. And then whenever I got about 10 or 11 years old, I started going out with my buddy Daniel, and we would do squirrel hunting pretty much as soon as deer season let out. I wasn't old enough to really have a gun with me yet because I was 11, he was like 13, so he had a little bit more freedom. But we'd go out in the woods like every day after school, just squirrel hunting, and then after that, I moved up to deer hunting, and I shot my first deer ever at 13 with a muzzleloader. It was a buck I got in there. It was an 8-pointer.
Heck yeah. That's funny you say you shot your first deer with a muzzleloader. I actually talked to a guy the other day. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago. Braden Ware from Go Wild. He actually shot his first deer with a muzzleloader too, and he's the first person that's ever told me they took their first deer with a muzzleloader. Usually, it's a rifle or a shotgun. So it's interesting that you say that too, because I didn't think that was as common as it is.
Yeah, around here, I mean, even still around here, it's fairly uncommon just because people are always wanting to get kids in on guns. But I mean, this is how it worked. It let me get out there a little bit earlier, beat a lot of the guys out there gun hunting. And I mean, it was still the same accuracy and everything out to 100 yards with that muzzleloader.
So you told me kind of before the show that you got into hunting like when you were younger and you got out of it for a little bit, and then you recently or a few years ago got back into it. What would you say is the biggest thing that attracts you to hunting? Because obviously you got out of it for a while and you came back. Is it so much the hunt, or is it the food, or maybe both?
Um, I would say it's a little bit of both. Like the challenge of hunting in itself attracted me because it's like, you know, you're trying to pin something down or, track something and pretty much harvest it that has been spending its whole life running away from things like coyotes and other hunters. And I can go and tell you right now, there's way better hunters out there than I am. So that challenge attracted me to it. And then you can't go get wild game from any other grocery store. So that kind of exoticness, I'm gonna make up a word here.
Yeah.
That kind of attract me back to it, and just I also really really love wild game still. Like I love deer meat. Specifically, I love the heart. I ate the heart this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was
I hear
really
a lot
good.
of people. I a few years ago started keeping it. I didn't grow up saving the heart as a kid, but I hear a lot of people still say gross ew about the heart. But if you cook it right and you prepare it right and everything, it's actually really good.
Oh yeah.
So, kind of describe what the hunting environment is like in North Carolina. Maybe we have people out west or Midwest like me that don't really know so much about what you guys got going on over there. I know you said it's kind of flat, a little bit of hilly. What's deer season, or maybe like what's your seasons like there? Is it hot all the time, or do you kind of have spring, winter, fall, um, summer? Do you have snow, that sort of thing?
So for deer season for us, it starts September 11th. It started the 11th this year. I think usually starts on like the 10th normally, but we had some weird calendar year. So it starts September 11th and it goes all the way to January 1st. And then through that whole, what's that, 3 months roughly, it really doesn't get super, super cold until about the second week of December. Really, we don't even have that much of a strong rut. We still have deer rutting all the way up until the first week of February, just because it doesn't get cold enough. I know, like this past year, we had like the last week of the season, I was hunting hard because I was wanting to get another deer in the freezer, and it was like 75 for like the last week. So we're kind of like in a weird spot between like I'm pretty sure the Gulf Stream has got something to do with it between like the Gulf Stream and where like the cold fronts meet. So like one week it's like 35 degrees out is a high, and then next week it's like 75 is like the high next day. And then as far as like pressure and stuff out here goes, um, in farther east counties we have a lot of dog hunting clubs. Do y'all have dog hunters up there?
I've never seen. I mean, not. Are you talking like when it comes to deer hunting, like
Yeah.
drives? Yeah, I don't even. I'd have to check. I don't even think it's illegal in Indiana. I could be wrong, but I've never seen anybody drive deer in Indiana.
Yeah, so we have a big history of that, where people basically turn their dogs out and then they'll turn them out on one side of the block, and their buddies will go stay on the other side of the block and push deer out, and then they'll just kind of shoot them as they cross the path. We have a big history of that. So, once gun season kind of comes in the middle of October, deer start getting a little skittish. They get very educated. But we have a really good culture of hunting. It's everywhere. Every time you talk to someone, I bet you can. If you come down here to North Carolina and say like, "Hey man, you ever been hunting?" They'll say, "Yeah, I've been deer hunting, or yeah, I've been squirrel hunting, yeah, I've been turkey hunting." It's a very rich culture down here.
Yeah, I've heard North Carolina and there's a couple other states that really have a lot of hunting culture. Obviously, in other states people hunt, but it um, seems like a lot of the southern states, and I know like Wisconsin and stuff like that, they're like letting kids out of school and stuff for opening day of deer season. So we we don't really have that kind of hunting culture here in Indiana, but you definitely see people out. But as far as North Carolina goes, if you were gonna like rank it as, I guess, against other states, kind of where would that fall in numbers when it comes to like hunting opportunities? And I guess what I'm asking here is, do you think it would be worth the time and the money for an out-of-state guy to come to North Carolina? And answer it truthfully, not just to push others away. But yeah, is it worth the trip, or is it kind of pretty hard to get on stuff out there?
So in terms of ranking it from 1 to 50, I would probably put it in the top 20, just
Mm,
because we have so many different things you can hunt. Like you can hunt coyotes is starting to become a big thing around here. You have deer, turkey. Turkeys are starting to become a big thing again. We have a bounce back of quail. Probably in the next 5 or 6 years, quail will probably make a big comeback. Um, Upland bird hunting of like we have grouse and then dove that they're really big. You have dudes come from other states coming out here to dove hunt. And then apparently we are like one of the biggest states in the nation for bear hunting. Um,
hmm.
I read an article not too long ago that said North Carolina holds the state record for black bear. That
Hmm.
it's 880 pounds. So
Wow.
yeah, if you're going to come to North Carolina for any sort of hunting specifically, I would probably recommend black bear just because the densities are so high. I looked it up and it said on the Albemarle slash Pamlico Peninsula in our sound, it's like for every square mile, it's like 4 to 1.
Wow.
Yeah, and up here
What
around Raleigh.
Oh, I'm sorry. What do you guys? How do you hunt bears there? Do you hunt them over bait or
Yeah,
dogs?
usually you down there in the coast they have like more swamps, so usually you're going to have to bait them to get them up out of the I can't think of the name of it, out of the like the cattails and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just how I've seen it done. I know there's a really big outfitter out there. I can't remember the name of it right now, but man, they pull bears out that are like 700 pounds every other week, and they're shooting them over bait or they're waiting for them to enter the rut, and then like bears will just like walk across the path in front of you at like 50 yards.
Yeah, a bear's something that I've always wanted to hunt, but we get stragglers here every now and then in Indiana, and it's like it's kind of comparable to Bigfoot when you see a bear around here. Like it's not very common, but you can't hunt bears here. There's not. I'm sure there's a couple here and there, but we don't have a season for them or anything. They're not sustainable here. Maybe someday they will be.
Yeah, I know up here around Raleigh, there we have a crap ton on the coast, and then we have a bunch in the mountains, and then like right here in the middle of the Piedmont region, is like it's rare to see one. I've seen one get hit on the highway not far from here, and then I've had one like 3 years ago run through my backyard, and like that upset like the whole town. Big old black bear with
What
some cubs.
do you know how much a bear tag costs for a resident?
I actually bought one this year. It's not very expensive for a resident. I think it's like $20 if that.
Oh, that's
Because you got to get
cheap.
you got to get a bear stamp, and then they do surveys for you, like Did you see bears? Did you hunt? Did you even hunt them? So bear hunting is definitely a bigger thing, or become a big thing since I've started hunting.
Yeah, I'll have to check into that. I'll have to see what non-resident bear tags cost there, because that's something that I want to plan for the future, is hunt something a little different that I don't have around here. And I've always wanted to shoot a bear, and I'd love to have a freezer full of bear meat.
I heard it's sweet, like it's like a
Yeah.
dark meat. So
Yeah, I'd love to have a nice fat bear too. I like to take all that fat and render it down.
oh yeah.
So, public land access in North Carolina. Do you guys have a whole lot of public land there, or is it mostly private?
We actually have a quite a big amount. Just 30 minutes north of me, there is about I think it's 10,000 acres, and it's surrounding this lake. It's called Falls Lake, and that's pretty good access. It's basically like a park, so people walk through there all the time. But other than that, I mean, it's really good hunting. And then we have another place about an hour away from here, 45 minutes to an hour. It's called Choco Creek. Um, that's really good hunting. It's got some big deer up there. I found some deadheads and some sheds out there. But it's so heavily pressured by some of the dog clubs they got out there that it's really hard to hunt it once gun season comes in. But public land out here is pretty good. They do a really good job of managing it. And if you're willing to travel an hour, hour and a half, I mean, you can get into one of the 5 big tracts of public land out here. I mean, I've hunted 5 smaller ones around here total. So the 2 big ones and then 3 small ones that are still like 2,000 acres.
Yeah, I always love to ask people about their public land access in other states, because around where I'm at, we have options, but around the town that I'm in, we don't really have a whole lot. So I find that a lot of people say within an hour of them, like in every state, they tend to have like a big chunk of public. So public land's good. It gives people opportunities to at least get out and try it.
Oh yeah, I when I first told people that I was gonna start hunting public land this year, they told me that I would never see anything, crazy big. And to be honest with you, I saw some of the nicest bucks I've seen in a long time out there on public land, and no one knows about them. They're right there next to neighborhoods, or they're right there. You can kind of tell they're traveling back and forth because how fat they are.
You gotta be smarter than the deer and the people when it comes to public land. It definitely it takes time to figure out, and it can be really frustrating, but I love it. I love just kind of the adventure and kind of like not knowing. When you hunt
Yeah,
private land a lot, it can become monotonous, kind of going into the same stand, doing the same thing over and over again. Um, but yeah, public land adventure. So I wanted to ask you, I know you don't live on the coast, but my mother-in-law recently moved from South Carolina, and she was telling me that there was like deer near the ocean, or like tracks on the beach or something. Do people hunt near the ocean, like deer or stuff like that, like on a beach, I guess? Or do you know anything about that in North Carolina?
So North Carolina actually just put in an urban archery season. And there's one for a town called Nags Head that's literally like right on the beach because the deer have gotten so bad in there. So that's about as close to the ocean as you can get. As you can literally throw a rock and throw it right in salt water. Um, I did know, or I have seen guys do a lot of deer hunting up in this national park called Croatan National Forest. That's where the Lost Roanoke colony and stuff happened, or right there in that area. But they say that there's some big deer in there too, and they do all that hunting around the sound. There's another guy I know. He's a deer biologist for the state of North Carolina. His name's like Mariah Burgess or something. I'm butchering his name, so if you hear this, I'm sorry. But he put a picture out one time where he could literally see over like the like swamp grass, like real tall swamp grass with like cattails and everything in it. Like you could see like the channel pretty much. So yeah,
Uh,
they kill them out there on the beach pretty much.
You say you eat a lot of deer meat. Is that something you're gonna get into since the deer are so thick over there? You're gonna go over there for urban archery?
Urban archery actually just ended. So the law out there states that you have to have 5 continuous acres to hunt.
Mm.
So, and Nag's Head ain't but like maybe 15 acres. I would definitely love to do it. I think if I went down there during the summer and just kind of did my scouting out beforehand and talked to landowners, I think I could definitely get it done. Um, but usually I didn't really think of it until just recently.
I I can't imagine shooting deer, just from my experience, like going to the beach and getting sand and everything, getting sand in my truck, sand in my shoes, sand in my eyeballs, sand everywhere. I can't imagine shooting a deer in a sandy place like that. I have to imagine that you would have to probably drag it out without gutting it, probably get it home and hang it up or something, because I bet that sand would get all inside the cavity and everything else. That's not something I would want in my meat.
Oh yeah, definitely. Imagine like you're sitting there on the beach with like your kid, your wife and kids, and like you're relaxing, and then some dude like shot a deer and it's like comes out there and passes away on the beach with you. That would be a sight.
Man, hunting by the beach, I bet it's probably warm there all the time too, right? So
Oh yeah,
it's
and
probably
the
a lot
wind
of
is
bugs.
constant out there too. Like there's no
Yeah.
break from it. So every tree you're sitting in is like this right here almost. So you're literally hanging out of a tree. Like
I
that would
uh
be
I don't mind too windy days. Like if I'm sitting in my summit, obviously the wind can screw you when it comes to deer hunting, but I don't know. I get up there like 20 feet and gets a little windy. It's almost relaxing, you just kind of blow around in the tree. If you can just kind of get over the fact that you might fall out, yeah, I mean, I'll take a nap in that thing. I've hunted in like 25-mile-an-hour winds before, and I've been like holding on to the tree, like I got to get down. But I don't know, 10, 15-mile-an-hour winds in a summit, it can be pretty cozy.
I have a like a lock on setup I used. And one time it was like real early season and like a tropical depression was coming through. And of course I was like, I'm gonna go try to shoot a deer this afternoon. And I'm sitting there like swaying. I have like the cheap harness that comes with it. I'm like, man, that harness is not gonna hold me up if I fall out. I'm just sitting there like going like this the whole time, like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it's just like a lock on. Like I'm just barely strapped into the tree. So that made me realize how important tree stand safety is.
Yeah, it doesn't take much to knock you out. I like to, when I have hang-ons and stuff, I like to have branches above me just in case like I slip or it gets real windy. I feel like I can grab that branch, but that's not saying that branch won't break in the wind too.
It's just a mental thing.
So, deer in North Carolina, how big do they get when it comes to rack and body size? And where do they mostly feed on there? Do you guys have a lot of ag?
We have a whole lot of ag. So the farther east you get, the smaller the deer get. But since there's so much ag, the antlers on them are still fairly big. I had a buddy one time tell me one time that he thought the buck was bigger than what it actually was because the body of it was so small. He thought it was like a 140-inch buck. So he's sitting there like shaking the whole time. And it's really only like a 120-pound buck because that's just
Yeah.
how small they are.
The body
Up
size threw him off when it came to looking at the rack because yeah.
Yeah, but I had a buck right here behind the house one time, um, and I'm up in here in the Piedmont region, and the buck was probably every bit of 200 pounds, and its bases were like beer cans. Probably not quite that big, but they were pretty close. It looked like something out of like Kansas or something.
Hmm.
Big old thick buck. And then I know up there in the mountains, they have something in the soil. I can't remember what it is, but it makes the deer a whole lot healthier and a whole lot stronger. I think it's because they have so many exposed rocks or something. They can lick it, get more minerals, like natural minerals. So the bucks up there get even bigger. But around here in the Piedmont region, I would say you could probably get a good, if you knew where you're at or knew how to hunt them and you had a good spot, you could probably get a 140-inch buck out of any given
Yeah.
spot, and it'd probably be 220 pounds. But
So
they
if you're
mostly feed
gonna,
on like,
sorry, if you're gonna hunt in North Carolina, then you're going after a decent buck. You want to stay more west.
yeah, there was an article put out not too long ago that said the northeastern part of the Piedmont was really good. I can't really agree or disagree with that. I would say like more west. Once you get towards probably Greensboro, I know Banner Elk has some good deer out there. Cherokee, pretty much that part of the state is really good.
What are the deer mostly feed on? What's most of your ag?
So most of our ag it kind of rotates, but majority of it I've seen them feed on is soybeans. They love corn. They'll get out there and lay down in the corn during the summer because it's like so much cooler underneath there. They'll get in there and lay down in it and just eat on it all day and won't move. See them eating milo. Then we have a lot of oaks around here, like white oaks. They love white oaks. And whenever they hear them dropping, you can almost guarantee you're going to see a deer there. We do have some red oaks, but they're not too much of a fan of them. And then they'll just eat random stuff like briars, wood tips, like little trees or whatever, little ends of them. I see them eat ferns. There was something else. I've seen them eat dried hay before. I don't know how good it was for it, but I've seen them do it. Just pretty much anything and everything. Since we also have a lot of neighborhood deer too, they eat a lot of like decorative plants. They're starting to become a big issue.
You should maybe use that to your advantage. Maybe some of those people get tired of the deer eating on their roses and everything else, or their gardens.
Oh yeah, I was hunting on the backside of a neighborhood this past deer season, and I would like pull in like right there because the entrance to the neighborhood and the public land was like right next to each other, and so like some people would come like walking by, and I would just get the dirtiest look. I was like, well, I mean, it's public land, man.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic when it comes to
Yeah.
hunter harassment and all that stuff. So you like to experiment with cooking some animals that people don't usually cook. Kind of talk about some of the animals, I guess, that you've played around with, and then later on in the episode, maybe we'll dive deeper into it. But just kind of give us a laydown on what you've played around with.
So the most off the wall one that I've done recently was the nutria. So to kind of break it down for you, a nutria is a big old rodent. A lot of people confuse them with muskrats because they look so similar. They're like they get close to like 20 pounds. They're about like 3 foot long. I mean, they're a big rodent. And so I cooked that one recently. That one, to me, was the most similar to pork, surprisingly. The rodent, it's there's some acronym for it. It's like ROUS, rodent of unusual size. That tasted almost like a pig to me. And then I cooked it.
It's pretty greasy then?
Yes.
Yeah.
I stewed it just because I was cooking it for a bunch of other people because all my coworkers were wanting to try like something I had cooked. So, I made it into a stew, something that I know everybody would like. And it still tasted kind of greasy to me, but they said it was really good. They loved it. It was a hit.
Did they know what it was when you brought it in, or did you just tell them it was wild game?
Oh yeah, I made sure like they knew what it was because I didn't want anybody getting upset with me.
Yeah, here's this giant rat I put in this crock pot. Like, just go ahead and have your nutria and some potatoes and carrots on the side, and yeah, no big deal.
Oh yeah. And then I cooked a beaver before that. Um, that was honestly really good. I've been looking for another beaver ever since that. It it's like sweet. It's really
Hmm.
sweet. It's not as lean as a lot of wild game, so I didn't have to add as much beef broth. But um, I mean, it was still, you know, I would be careful. I wouldn't just, do it like regular beef and just not put anything in there. So,
Man, I'm real big into eating stuff rare. You think I can get by with eating a beaver rare? You think I get sick?
I think you could probably get by with it if it's like a little bit medium, but I don't think I'd want to eat a beaver rare. I mean, the flesh of it looks, I mean, fine. It's red meat, but I don't know if I'd want to eat a rodent rare. You
So,
probably will get sick.
I imagine beavers and nutria are, they're both rodents. It's pretty similar. It's funny that they taste so much different, right?
Yeah,
Or do they taste pretty close?
I think they taste very different. The nutria, I don't know if I've already said it, but that was like a pork. That was like you said, it was very greasy. There was another word I used for it. Um, it was like salty. It was like very, very salty. And it just could have been where the nutrient came from. But and then the beaver was like really sweet. It was like I'm trying to think of an animal I could compare it to. It was like a little bit of a deer and beef combo. If I had to
Okay.
compare it to anything, which I mean, it was really good. So
So, how did you get into? I know you told me a little bit when we talked on Instagram that you had shot some beavers. How did you kind of get into that? And what does that whole process kind of look like? Because I've got a piece of property in Kentucky that it's got a bunch of people that lease on it. It's a pretty big area, but they don't allow trapping. And you can technically still hunt beavers there, but you just can't trap beavers there. So I'm kind of maybe looking to shoot a couple beavers. So I was hoping maybe you could give me some insight on how to do that, because you obviously you can't shoot them at nighttime. So how am I going to find a beaver during the day to shoot? And then once I do that, how am I going to get it when it's in the middle of the lake?
so usually what you can do is, depending upon what your local laws say, you can disturb the beaver's like lodge,
Oh,
and
you
usually
can.
around here, I'm pretty sure you can, unless they're causing like imminent damage. Then it's game warden's pretty much just like it's fair game.
Yeah.
Um, that's whenever we would like target the beavers when they were like causing a lot of damage. So you know you can usually do that. You can disturb the nest. Beavers are pretty not like they're not aggressive in the fact that they're going to come up and like attack you, but they're pretty aggressive in like they'll do things like scare you off. Um, if you mess with their nests, usually what has been most successful for me is if you wait till like right at the edge of dark. Usually they're already halfway across where they want to be once the sun goes down. So if you can catch them before they move out or move to where they want to be and start hiding again, um, you can take them out that way. We used to just use a red light out here, like coyote hunting. I don't know what the laws are in that area that you're talking about, but we would just use a red light and wait for them to get up on the bank, and then we would just take like a 223 or 22 Magnum or even buckshot and just shoot them that way. We would use like triple on buck. So
So you're waiting kind of near the beaver lodge.
Yeah, that's usually what we would do is get up on a lodge or get up like on an overlook, and usually you can hear them swimming around in the creeks and stuff because they're turning around so much. So usually you have a good idea where they're going to be at.
Yeah, I don't know if I've been around some beavers catfishing years ago at some public land. I kept hearing this loud. It would scare you because it'd be like every 5 minutes or something, but a loud smack. I'm like, what the heck is that? So finally I went down there and shined a light, and I'm like, that's a beaver. He's, I was in kind of close proximity to him, and he was probably trying to scare me off, but those suckers are loud at nighttime when they go slapping their tails. I mean, it'll startle you when it's really quiet out.
I had one run in with one where I was bow hunting on this farmer's property, and I had to walk past the pond, and I'm probably 60 yards away from the edge of the pond, and there's some deer to my right, and I'm walking below like this terrace, like trying to be all stealthy, and this beaver just slaps the water so loud it makes me jump up, and then next thing I know, I hear deer running off.
So you, um, cooking them and all that stuff, is that pretty new to you? Um, or like in the past when you hunted them, did you just kind of leave them lay, or how's that usually work? Do you usually keep every beaver you shoot?
So whenever in the past I would hunt them, it would usually be like my buddy would have permission to this piece of property, and he'd be like, "Hey man, like we got beavers out there causing problems. You want to come out there and spend a Friday night and go out there and shoot beavers?" And he would go get the beavers and like try and depending on how bad the hide was, he would try and get the hide off of it and make something with it, or he would get the tail out and you know he tried it one time, and I personally didn't want anything to do with it because the tail didn't look all that appetizing. But basically, it's just like a big old layer of fat. And I did some research, and it says that like back in like the 18, back when trapping was a real big thing, they're still settling farther west. Trappers would like eat the tail of the beaver because it had so much
Yeah, fat
like
content and stuff that they needed.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then beaver meat was also a delicacy, which I had found out um, on this last beaver we got. So I was like, well, I'll just give it a shot, see what it does. And so cooking them is a fairly new thing to me, but handling them isn't. I would say it cooks. I mean, usually I just try and do like simple recipes so I can kind of get like a taste of what the actual meat is going to be like instead of like trying to like douse it and everything and like hide out the flavor of the actual animal.
So how did you cook the beaver then? Did you throw it in a crock pot with potatoes and carrots, or did you fry it up, or what's that look
Yeah,
like?
I did the beaver in a crock pot. I took potatoes, carrots, whole large onion. I threw some garlic in there and some red pepper, and it went really well together. It wasn't like bland. Like I've had some roast beef or stew that was like super bland. I was like, man, this is not good. And I made it like that. I put like 2 cloves of garlic in it. And it was really good, and you can still taste the beaver all at the same time. So
Did you debone it out first, or
now
just throw it in there with the bones?
I took the back straps off the beaver, and then I took the 2 hams and I left it all on the bone. I mean, I cut the feet off too, but I left everything on the bone so it'd be kind of like its own broth in a way.
Mhm.
And I honestly think that's why it turned out so good is letting it cook with its bones in it. And then at the end, before I served it up to anybody, I went there and picked all the bones out, and it was only like 3 bones.
Yeah, it seems like when you cook stuff with bones in it, it always turns out better.
Yeah, that's just from my experience. Every time my mom's done roast with like beef, she's usually got like some sort of bone-in roast or whatever, and it usually turns out way better than the ones that don't have bones in it.
You ever consider cracking those bones open and eating the marrow out of them?
I did. I did when I first picked it up. I was like, it don't look that bad. And then I was like, I probably shouldn't because my mom was over there like freaking out. Not freaking out, but she was like, I don't want none of it. I can't imagine eating a beaver, big old rodent. And I ate it. I was like, man, this is good. Like, this is really
Man,
good.
I have to say, like, you're already eating the meat, like, you're already kind of invested. Why not go for the marrow, you know?
Yeah. I've only seen one person eat the marrow of anything. It was like a chicken bone, and
Mm,
that marrow just it kind of repulsed me after that.
yeah.
So I can.
A nasty old farm, like a farm raised, factory raised chicken's
Oh yeah,
probably not as good as a wild beaver. I don't know, man. Like, if I was that invested, I might go ahead and crack it open.
I'll definitely do it on the next one. Now that you got me thinking about it even more.
I don't know, maybe I've heard that stuff's good, like to use as a spread on like bread or something, kind of like butter. Might try it, man. Might be your new favorite thing. You might start an
Hey,
Instagram page about like eating beaver marrow. I don't know.
hey, I'll make sure to tag you in it. I'll send you some in a jar.
Yeah, I'll definitely take it as long as that's legal.
Oh yeah,
Um, so let's kind of talk about beaver sizes when it comes to like weight, length, stuff like that. I know we already covered that they're a little bit aggressive, but how big is like a big beaver and kind of what's a small beaver?
So the one I ate was probably like 55, 60 pounds, which is like a
Damn,
yeah. Um,
that's a
I've
big
seen
beaver.
yeah. Yeah, it is. And I've seen some get up to like 70 and I've looked it up like how what was like the biggest one and it said like 100 pounds.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, I can only imagine like 100-pound beaver. Like that's bigger than my Rottweiler I have outside.
Yeah.
And I've seen some baby ones like a little furry, but they're like little 10, 15 pounds. They're still big for what they are, but they look so cute when they're like 10, 15 pounds.
You're not gonna shoot any babies, is that what you're saying?
I don't think I could bring myself to it.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it. Now, the first time one slaps his tail at me might be a little bit different. Maybe, unless it's like little fluff ball or something.
I don't know if it's legal. Maybe you can live trap one and keep it as a pet. I don't know.
There was one time we were up there at the lake, and it was like 4th of July, and you know my my family was there, and her friends and their kids and stuff. We're all swimming out there in the cove, and like across the cove, we heard someone like start screaming like bloody murder. I was like, what in the world? And apparently, someone had got attacked by a beaver, and like it had bit all the way through to hit like his femoral artery.
Oh my
Like the dude
God.
almost died. Yeah, dude almost died out there in the lake with us.
I could I could uh I could imagine that they could chew through your bone pretty quick. They're pretty destructive when it comes to trees.
Oh God, yeah. Have you ever like heard them chew?
Yeah, a few times actually. Mostly while I was in a deer stand hunting kind of in a swampy area.
That will make you think like, man, I'm not too worried about the bear. I'm worried about the beaver that's got teeth chewing through wood. Like I mean, you
Yeah.
can hear it. It's very distinct.
Did you end up keeping those skulls of those beavers?
No, I didn't. I didn't keep any of those just because I didn't really like. They have this gland called a castrium. It makes them
Mm-hmm.
waterproof. I didn't really. I was like, man, I really don't want to get that on me because beavers and muskrats have castrium in them. And I've heard so many stories where dudes would be like trapping muskrats and like the castrium would get on them and like it would ruin their clothes. Like there was nothing you could do to get out of anything the castrium out of your clothes. So I was like, I ain't messing with it.
I I've heard people talk about like trappers and stuff. I don't know if you can buy that, like it's like a gland or whatever, the oil they get from it, but that's pretty like high quality stuff. I've heard people seek after that quite a bit. It's kind of like comparable to deer and doe and estrus.
Yeah, so I think what they were talking about is the castrium. It's basically like how deer communicate with their urine. What a
Hmm.
lot of trappers do is they'll go put it like on a trap, and that beaver will think another beaver is moving into its property or whatever, its territory. And get all riled up and angry, and I'll go in there into the trap thinking it's about to fight another beaver, and then the trap gets it.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Bare Beans Coffee. Bare Beans Coffee was built by passionate hunters like you and I, and their mission is to give back to wildlife, specifically bear conservation. Bare Beans Coffee offers both ground and whole bean options, and their flavors include dark roast, hibernation roast, and spring awakening. When drinking Bare Beans Coffee, you can be confident that you are getting a high-quality cup of joe and supporting bear conservation across North America. 10% of all profits from Bare Beans are donated to carefully selected partners such as the Western Bear Foundation. Visit bearbeans.com to buy coffee and support bear conservation today.
Sounds like a good way to hunt them and put some of that down and just like post up.
Yeah, I thought about cutting the castrium gland out, but then had second thoughts about it.
You ever think about eating one of those?
What, a castrium gland?
Yeah.
No, no, man. I couldn't imagine what that would taste like. I mean, I've seen it before. It looks like the gonad off a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't be very well received in my house if I had to cook it in here.
I don't know, man. You're eating nutria, like some kind of rat that I never like had heard of. Like maybe you should like on your 5% TV, your YouTube and your Instagram, maybe you just eat all this weird shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really intend to like start eating weird shit just because it was weird. I heard about how beaver was like a delicacy back in the day. I was like, I want to see what I'm missing out on. And after that, I was like, I see why it's a delicacy. And everybody was like, oh man, that's gross. And then I gave some to my mom's friends, like some beaver, and they were like, man, that's like some good stuff. Like, they said they wanted more if I ever cooked anymore. So I was like, well, guess that's going to be a big thing in the channel now.
It's kind of like that whole thing with like people eat beef, they'll eat chicken, and they'll eat turkey from the store. It's like not a thing. And then you're like, oh, you want some deer meat? And they're like, ooh, like I don't want to eat a deer. It's kind of like the same thing, like people that like eat deer, like deer hunters. It's like the next crossover, we're moving on to like something maybe more, I don't know if exotic is the right word, but it's like oftentimes you find if you just try it, it's actually pretty good. I mean, they weren't eating it back in the 1800s and stuff because it was nasty.
Yeah, I definitely, every time I've talked to someone that said like deer meat is like gross, I'm like, well, what'd you eat? And they're like, I had like backstrap. It's like, okay, well, what it looked like on the inside when you ate it? Brown. Okay, you ate some overcooked deer. Like that's something I see everybody do. They cook the ever living crap out of some deer meat, and it is tough and just leathery. And it's like, man, you're ruining a good piece of meat. Like you're supposed to eat that thing like red.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to eat it like like rare, but I like mine medium. Like I eat that heart medium, and it just had a little bit of pink to it. Man, that was really good. And then I cooked some tenderloin and some backstrap, and that was like the best tender I've ever had it.
Man, that's all I eat around my house is deer meat. I'll eat it with the blood dripping out of it. I don't care if it's ground up or backstrap or whatever it is. Like, I don't know. I have this weird thing. Like, I trust it. Like, I know like where it died and how it got handled. Like, it just cracks me up. Like, people see you do that. Like, people come over to your house and they see you like eating rare deer meat, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get sick. Oh, you're gonna, whatever." But then they'll go out to like Logan's or Texas Roadhouse. I don't know if you have those there, but they'll like order a rare steak that came from some factory farm. That was probably like beef imported from India. God only knows, the living conditions and how it was handled. And nobody like bats an eye about it. It's just such a strange thing to me.
Yeah, that was another reason why I started hunting too, is because I was like, man, I really want to know like what I'm putting in my body. But going back to what you were saying, like eating like raw hamburger. So you're like, my grandpa used to do the same thing, but he would like take like raw hamburger and like roll it up in a little ball and eat it. Are you the same way?
Yeah, I've done it. I've done it a few times. I've heard of. Sometimes I'll put it in the skillet and just kind of like if I'm making, let's say tacos, I'll just kind of let it brown for just a second, but it's still like pretty bloody. Um, and it has such a different taste to it than it does once it kind of gets to that point where it's browned. I've eaten it raw a couple times. I like the flavor of it. I don't so much care for the texture of it when it's raw. But I mean, like raw steak, it doesn't really like bother me at all.
Yeah, I I can only imagine like the texture of it. Like what's the texture of like raw ground up deer meat? I've always
Um,
wondered that.
I mean, it's obviously it's mushy. It's not like
Yeah,
it's kind of not like it's not, I guess, meaty in the sense because when you brown it or whatever, it kind of clumps together. So then it's kind of like it's like eating a hamburger or eating kind of like a chunk of steak. It's actually got some like it gives you some resistance when you chew it. When you chew something that's like ground raw meat, it's gonna be more mushy, kind of. I'd say it's like if you put gum on the roof of your mouth and like push it with your tongue, it would be like mushy like that. But try it, man. I've heard of a lot of like old timers would eat like raw meat, like raw ground meat with like onions or something. It's supposed to be really good. I've never tried it, but maybe I will next time. I'm not scared of it. I've never gotten sick from it, so I'm not worried.
oh yeah, I wouldn't be worried about eating some raw deer meat. I mean, I've never heard of them carrying anything that like transfers to humans. The
Let me
only
ask
time
you
I would be
this.
like,
Let me ask you this. How many times have you heard about people getting food poisoning from restaurants and from street fairs and all that stuff? And then how many times have you heard about people getting food poisoning from their own house?
not very many.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just something kind of like, I don't know. People think it's okay to eat raw meat because it was, inspected by the government. But like, I don't know, man. I don't trust it.
Yeah, everybody was kind of bashing like whenever I eat like semi undercooked like anything. Like man, you don't know what that deer or that beaver had. I'm like, well, I mean, I know that it lived in a fairly clean environment. I was like, where do you think that pig is standing its whole life? That 6 months it was alive, or however long, or that cow is only alive for 3 years. How much walking do you think that thing did? I
Yeah.
would definitely rather eat that raw deer meat than that pig that rolled around in its own you know mud.
Yeah. People, I don't know, man. People are like, they're disconnected from reality. It's just like 100 years ago, that like wasn't a thing. You needed some meat, like you just went out and shot it. Now it's like if you need meat and Walmart's out, like you're screwed. Like I'm not worried about it. I'm not
Yeah,
worried about it at all. Like I'm stocked up, and if I run out, like I know where to get it. I know how to butcher it. I'm not worried. So let the meat market crash. I don't really care. I don't buy that shit from the store anyway.
yeah. My mom was like freaking out the other day. She was like, "Oh man, like you know, Food Lion or whatever was like out of like whatever." I was like, "Mom, I was like, I have like 40 pounds of deer meat left over in the fridge, like fresh deer meat, like off a doe I killed this year." I was like, "We have plenty of meat to last us until like 2 or 3 months down the road." And even then, I was like, turkey season's coming up, and I was like, I'll tell you one thing: if I get a turkey, I'm eating that more than anything else. Granted, it's going to last every bit of like 3 days.
So kind of back to nutria. How big do they get? I know we covered it a little bit, but like what's a big nutria and what's a small one? And like how long do they live? Do you know?
They usually live probably about 6 years. For like a big one, I've seen 20 pounds, but then I also had another buddy. He he dude, he is like the nutria, like he exterminates them. He said he's seen some like 40 pounds. And I mean a nutria,
He's a nutria exterminator. You can stick that on a sticker. Slap
yeah.
that on your truck.
I'm gonna get, dude. His truck just got wrecked up the other day, dude. I'm gonna get it for his other truck. I'm gonna like nutria exterminator across the back. He'll put that on Facebook for me.
Man,
And
you should sneak over to his house or something and stick it on his truck or his vehicle whenever he's asleep. He'll just come out in the morning, go to work or class, and it'll be like, what?
dude, he said he's killed some that are like upwards of like 40 pounds. They look like a bathroom rug. That's how
Wow.
big they get. Yeah, and he was like, that's a big one, but I mean, can only imagine. The dudes in Louisiana eat living daylights out of them things. I mean,
Huh.
granted, the people in Louisiana can't eat anything. Nothing against them. But I mean, I've seen some scary stuff come out of Louisiana on a kebab or whatever you want to call it.
Man, I don't know. Like, I just got all these ideas popping in my head. Like, instead of like the turtle man, he could be like the nutria man, and he could just like start his own channel, and that's just like his thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely 100% support it. He's like a real big duck hunter, and they'll go in there and like mess up his like his impoundments or whatever. And dude, he'll spend like 2 days up there, like at his hunting club, and he'll kill like 20 on one weekend. I'm like, dude, like and he doesn't eat any of them though. So I'm like, man, if you get any beavers and nutrients, slide a couple my way.
How do you hunt nutria? Are they trapping them? Or are they shooting them kind of like similar to the beaver thing? Like, how do you find them?
So nutria aren't as nearly as big of a problem up here because they're still like an invasive species. They came from Louisiana, and then
Okay.
before they got there, it came from Central or South America or something. But people usually trap them, or that it's more of like an opportunity thing. So you're out there in the swamps, and you just kind of see them swim across like what's the name of it, like a little opening, like a little lagoon. You'll see them just kind of swim across, and it's like, all right, well, you're getting steel shot this morning. So I wouldn't say it's like there's not a season on them because they're a non-game animal, but I wouldn't say people go hunting them outright until they actually start popping up. And even then, when they
Okay.
do, they just kind of shoot them while they're hunting something else.
Are they are they pretty easy or are they hard to skin when it comes to like pulling the hide and all that stuff off?
Um, I would say they're like in between. Like, have you ever skinned a rabbit?
Yeah.
Like, skinning a rabbit is hard for me because all I want to do is just pull.
Yeah.
You can pull a little bit on a nutria, but you're probably going to tear it up. So there's more about the cutting. It's not. I would give it like a 5 out of 10 on a difficulty scale, with 10 being
Yeah.
like overly hard.
Is their hide and their fur and stuff, is that pretty similar to a beaver?
A beaver's fur is a lot softer. A nutria's got kind of like wiry hair. They got that long outer coat and then like that soft undercoat.
Hmm.
It's like really weird feeling. It's like you're touching like a mat, like the doormat or whatever, where you wipe your shoes on.
Yeah, it's probably comparable to like a wild hog or something.
Yeah, I've never touched wild hog, but I know we got some out there in western North Carolina, so hopefully I can get out there soon and get one.
So I guess it's probably like just pretty coarse then would be a good word for it.
Yeah, very coarse animal. They're
So Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just rambling.
So, nutria then is not pretty common to hunt there. It's kind of like you're a weird guy if you're out like hunting nutria.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there like straight up targeting them, you'd be I guess you'd be kind of like the odd one out, just because they're not that much of a terrible problem yet. And a lot of people don't really know about them right now. But you don't get a lot of guys that hunt them straight up.
So you're in college now, right? You're studying some kind of conservation stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to school for wildlife management.
Okay. So we talked a little bit earlier about Bobwhite Quail. Um, are those something that they're like trying to bring back in your area? Is that something like you hunt? Are you allowed to hunt them? I don't know anything about quail hunting at all, other than like I think you walk up some ditch lines or something and shoot them. I'm not really sure.
So the bobwhite quail are just now starting to come back. They're a lot like our wild turkeys. Our wild turkeys just now made a good comeback. So this is like the first year I've actually seen them. And even then, I saw some out there on game lands the first couple times. Like, what in the world was that? And then I asked some guys around that were like alive when the quail was like a very common. But so that and they're like, yeah, that's quail. And I was like, oh, that's sweet because it's awesome seeing stuff like that come back. And then there is a hunting season on them, but I mean, hunting them around here isn't really heard of just because there's not really that many. Like, I mean, even still, I think I only saw like 4 coveys the whole time, and I went deer hunting a lot this year. But it's more common down there at the East Coast part of the state because they have like a better habitat for them, and they just need like a lot of grasslands and like ag fields, and then like briars and everything else all at the same time.
Are
But
people are running those, they're jumping them up kind of with dogs. Is that kind of like the gist of how you hunt them?
yeah, so usually you get like I think it's like GSPs, like a German short hair pointer or some sort of pointer. They'll usually just kind of track them up, like smell them up, and they'll point them out, and you'll say, or you'll have like another dog that like flushes, and when that dog flushes, they'll just kind of all jump up all at once, and you pick 1 or 2 out, and you just aim for them. Usually how it goes.
Those are probably pretty good to eat. You gonna try to get your hands on one of those?
Yeah, I actually tried a couple times this year. Our quail season opened up November 13th, and it just went out February 28th. I went a couple times just trying my luck and doing a little bit of rabbit and squirrel and dove hunting all at the same time. Um, so I never got a chance to see one because they had moved around. But I've also heard they're really really good. You can get them in restaurants too. So I can only
No,
imagine
no, I don't. No, I don't want that tainted by humans meat. I'm not saying I don't eat from restaurants, but like if I'm going with some kind of crazy Bob White quail or something, I'm not getting a farm raised one.
Well, I was just trying to point out like they're a delicacy. Bobwhite quail is really, I mean, it's like a little round fat bird that stays on the ground the whole time, and it's got like white around its eyes. It's got like black eyelids. It's got like a little feather, whatever it sticks up. Um, and usually
Pretty
there's,
pretty cool looking then, huh?
oh yeah, they're beautiful, and they're when you see one of them, you usually see about 10. So, and their noise is like very distinct. So, but they look like a lot
So
of fun.
you do I looked at your Instagram. I saw some squirrel hunting stuff on there. I'm weirdly like super into squirrel hunting. I know like a lot of people aren't anymore. Like you talk to people and they're like turkeys or deer. But I love to shoot squirrels like in the summertime, in the wintertime. Like I don't know, man. I just love it.
Uh,
What kind of attracts you to like that?
to squirrel hunting.
Yeah,
Um, so the biggest thing for squirrel hunting for me is that it's hard.
it
I
is
mean,
hard. And people like, dude, people think like you went out and you like got up at like 4 in the morning. You went out and you shot 2 squirrels. You drove like 60 miles, there and back to some kind of public land. You shot 2 squirrels. Like, they're like, oh, I was drinking coffee this morning and saw 12. Like, I could have shot like 12 off the bird feeder. I'm like, look, it's not the same. Like, people
it's
just don't understand that.
it's really not. I there was one time me and my buddy Justin. I probably have him up there on my Instagram a little bit. We went one morning. This was like right at the end of deer season. And it was like when it was real hot. We went and we spent like a full day out there. And my mom and we came back and my mom had shot like two off the bird feeder and it was like taunting us with it. And we went back to another spot the next morning and we nicknamed it the killing tree. We killed 9 squirrels out of that one tree. So that persistence of the squirrel hunting and just listening and being like aware of these little, I mean, small, great. Do you have gray squirrels in Indiana?
Yeah, we have, that was going to be my next question for you too. We have fox and gray squirrels. What,
Um,
what,
we
uh, what, what squirrels do you guys have?
we do have the fox and the gray squirrels. Foxes are very like rare. I've only seen two in my whole life.
Hmm.
One of them was in Halifax County, which is like not far from Virginia, and then I saw one in Wayne County, which is like close to the coast. And I mean they're I was
Yeah.
like, man, is that a skunk? Because you know how they're black and white, and I was like, nah, man, that's a fox squirrel. I was like, there ain't no way. I think it's way too big. I was like, man, that's how big they get.
Yeah,
I
they get pretty good size. I would say like majority of the time, like when you go hunting, you're gonna probably shoot a gray squirrel around here, but I've killed my fair share of fox squirrels for sure.
I know for fox squirrels you can only shoot two per season,
Oh,
and here for gray squirrels the daily limit is 8.
oh, really?
Yeah, so I mean you can kill your fair share of squirrels.
Yeah, in
Um,
Indiana, it's 5, and you can kill foxes or grays. And I also hunt Kentucky. It's only about 20 minutes from my house. So down there you can kill 6 in one day, and it's also either fox or gray squirrels. So technically, I could go in the morning, uh, kill a limit in Indiana, and then slide over to Kentucky and kill a limit over there in the evening if I want to.
man, that would be like a serious like barbecue right there. Like, what's your like preferred way of like cooking squirrels? I'm a big squirrel connoisseur. I've cooked them every kind of way.
All
Cooked them in
right,
casserole.
all right, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get into it. I can uh, I can see that Garrett hasn't checked out my YouTube yet with my whole
I saw
30,
the
30, 30 some odd podcasts on there, and then like 2 videos because I'm like very inconsistent when it comes to like making hunting videos. But I'm just messing with you. One video though, and it was a really shitty squirrel hunt. I went in the evening and shot one squirrel. Just couldn't seem to like get on any squirrels. It was super, super cold outside. Um, I did a kill and cook on the back of my truck, and I made hot wings out of them. And if you
what
haven't had hot wings out of them, you are missing out. It is so freaking good. Forget B dubs like Buffalo Wild Wings. It's trash. Like hot wings out of squirrel is like it'll change your life. I promise.
so how'd you get it to be like so tender? That's what I'm saying.
Um, I usually when I shoot squirrels, I bring them home. I'll soak them in salt water at least a couple of days. I've soaked them up to a week before, and I think that really helps with it. But this one, I shot it within an hour. I cleaned it. I just put flour and salt and pepper on it, and I fried it in a cast iron skillet in the back of my truck, just like you would regular fried squirrel, just like fried chicken. And then I dumped out the oil and cleaned out the pan. I heated up some wing sauce in that pan and just kind of got it warm and basted them in that. No tenderizing or anything. It was probably because it was fresh. It was so good. I mean, it would change your life. You don't even want to eat like chicken wings from. I guess you guys probably have like Tyson chicken like wings at the store. That's like we have here, but like you do that, you're not gonna eat no more Tyson chicken wings. I promise you.
I might have to try that. I've done a casserole with them. I've done like I try to redo the recipe of squirrel and dumplings off of Meat Eater. I don't know if you watch Meat Eater like that,
Yeah, a little bit.
but the one with Clay Newcomb and Giannis and Steven and them, where
Yeah,
they like did the dumplings and stuff like in the pot. I tried to redo that, and it was not nearly
didn't
as
work
good.
out.
No, it wasn't terrible, but you got to eat it that day for it to
Yeah,
be like considered good. Um, I've had boiled squirrel before.
that sounds
It
that
was
sounds pretty
terrible.
terrible.
Yeah, it was awful.
I I had a big squirrel hunting guy. Let me look here. Let me like catch up. Which episode? Episode 20 of this podcast. I had Marcus Gray on. He he's a big squirrel hunter. He hunts with dogs and stuff a lot. But I remember him telling me they did some kind of wild game banquet or something for I'm sure it was like raise money for something, but obviously he's a squirrel killer, so he had a lot of squirrels. And I can't remember exactly if he said he cooked them in a crock pot or what, but somehow they deboned them and they turned them into something similar to like a crab cake, but they were like squirrel cakes. And he said he took it to that wild game banquet and he said people annihilated them. He said that they are phenomenal. So that's something like I've been wanting to try for a while. I'm sure it's like it's probably pretty time consuming, but I mean, I love squirrel meat, so like I'm game. It's probably similar to like a salmon patty, I imagine, but with squirrel.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can only imagine how good that was. And people are like, the thing about it too is be like people like know they're eating something that's not like from the store. So they're
Yeah.
like, I don't care what it is at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man. People are weird about squirrels. They're like, I don't know, it's back to that thing, like they'll eat all this crazy shit from the store, but like it's got all this dye and all this stuff in it, but then they don't want to eat a squirrel. It's been like chewing on hickory nuts for the past 6 months. I just don't get it. Like it's organic, man. We have this store here called like Fresh Market, and it's like an organic. There's like some organic stores, and like people go there and they spend all this money on this like organic food, but like they go buy a box of 22 shells and $100 rifle, and like they come out ahead like every time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I tried to explain that to like one of my teachers. She was like, "Oh, you're going to go out there and like shoot the four little squirrels." I was like, no." I was like, "These squirrels have been like they've lived a good life. It's not like I'm just sitting there with I don't know the exact name of it, but like a nail gun and like going to shoot them between the eyes. Like, no, these squirrels are very smart and they're very capable of getting away from me, and they've lived what probably a better life than any person I know. I mean, all they're doing is just running around hiding from stuff and eating and doing squirrel stuff all day."
Yeah, man. I've had people hit me with that. You're gonna go out and shoot that poor little deer, that poor little squirrel, whatever it is. And I always hit them back with this, do you eat meat? And like 90% of the time, 99% of the time, it's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, do you know where that comes from? Like, do you know? And nothing against like cattle farmers and stuff. Like, I know that people gotta survive and like not everybody can hunt, but like they're kept in cages, they don't roam free. I don't know, man. I just hit them with that usually, and it usually ends right there because they don't want to like go into this big long debate, which I'm up for. Like, I don't know, not that I have to win or anything, but like I feel like I'm right. I feel like it's more
Yeah,
ethical.
I've had that argument a couple times too. And sorry if I'm like making faces. Like I got into a bed of chiggers the other day and they tore my legs up, so I'm scratching.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but I've had that debate so many times with people. My uncle was one of those people. He's like, man, it's wrong that you're going out there and shooting, these deer or these animals. I'm like, man, what do you think that pig that you're eating lived like? What do you think that chicken lived like? What do you think that cow lived like? I mean, like I said, there's nothing against ranchers. I have, plenty of family friends who are ranchers and, sell cows and stuff. But it's like not every farm is ran like that. And I want to know, like, hey, this deer right here lived a good, healthy life and is, you know, as organic as you can get. Like, I don't hunt over bait or anything. So everything that deer is eating has literally grown up from the ground, either from a tree or from a crop that a farmer is producing, or, is eating some sort of leaf matter. Like, and it's ethical. I mean, no deer is going to die a quick, painless death as quickly as like getting shot or getting shot with a bow and arrow. Like that's a quick, humane death for them.
Yeah, you can always hit those people with like sorry I don't pay people to like do my killing for me too. That usually gets them, sorry I don't pay somebody else to do my dirty work, but I mean, in the end, if you're going to eat meat, something has to die. It's just a matter of if you're going to do it, you're going to pay somebody to do it, and then if you want good, healthy, organic meat, you better go out and get it yourself because shit you buy from the store is, I get disgusted when I go to the store and I see all the meat and it all like looks exactly the same because I know like it's been like there's like 7,000 cows and one pound of ground beef probably. Then they run it through and they like bleach it or whatever they do to it, and then they like color it pink and just like I don't know, the meat section kind of weirds me out.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some stuff in there that like I looked at the date on it and it was like sell by like 2 days from now. I was like, there's no
Yeah,
way it's still that color, or it should be that color. Because like, I mean, if you leave deer tenderloin out, like
yeah,
fresh deer tenderloin out, and you leave it in the fridge for like 4 days,
yeah. It'll
it,
discolor.
yeah, it's going to be like disgusting looking. I'm like, there's
Yeah,
no way a steak should last that long in something a poorly, not poorly, but in somewhere where it's not in a like immediate like refrigerator or cooler.
man. I'm gonna have to go to the store and buy a ground of beef and take a ground of venison. I need to find somebody that can take both of them, like some kind of lab, and test them and tell me which one of them's like better for me to eat. I should do that. I'm gonna look into that because I feel like I just need to prove a point now.
I mean, hey, do it. I
I want to know how
I
much dye and bleach and all that shit's inside that stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're gonna be like, look at all this pesticide inside your venison, but I doubt it.
um. Do you do your own ground up venison, or do you take it to a processor? Or
So just depends, kind of like if it's the rut and I'm shooting like 2 or 3 deer in one day and I want to go hunting the next day, like I might take it to a processor. If it's cold out and I can let them hang for a week, I might do it here. It just kind of depends on how much time I have, if it's hot. But yeah, just depends.
yeah, I took mine to a processor this last one, and I I asked for like shanks because
Yeah.
I was gonna make ossobuco with it, or I was gonna try to, and they gave me like the knee. I was like, all right, I'm never going back to another processor. And they gave me like half a backstrap for each one. Like when like had like two slabs of backstrap, and it was like half the length of a regular backstrap. And the deer I shot wasn't very big, so I was already expecting to get back like 50 pounds of meat, maybe. No,
Yeah.
I got back like 30.
Yeah, it's definitely better if you can do it yourself. Like I said, I try to do that, and then if it's hot or something, like you can only do so much. It's like either let it go bad or try to get it in a cooler somewhere. But I don't know, man. Those processors, they process a lot of deer. They got to have some energy, so maybe they're just mealing on your backstrap or something. I don't know.
That's what I thought about. I was like, man, I hope whoever cut out the second half of Mac backstrap is eating good.
Hey, at least you
Um,
didn't get it back with a bite out of it. I don't know if I worked at a processor, maybe I'd take a big raw chunk of backstrap, take a bite out of it. I'm
I know,
kidding.
man. The way you say you like your steaks, I wouldn't be surprised.
Man, you should try them super rare. It'll change your life.
Wouldn't that be like blue?
Blue. Yeah, I mean, unless you just don't cook it at all, and just like cut it out of the deer and just like take a bite out of it.
I've seen where people eat the heart raw.
Yeah, I have too. I haven't done that, but I don't know.
Oh,
Maybe this year. You like heart? Why are you scared to try it?
I mean, hey, I might do it with a turkey heart this year.
Oh gosh.
I'll,
Now
I'll
you're
take a
getting
video.
wild. I don't know. That's a bird. You might get sick from that.
Yeah, I might get salmonella.
Yeah. So, is there any other small game that you kind of want to hunt? You seem to like to go after. I won't say little critters like, but beavers are not like a deer or whatever, and squirrels and rabbits and all that stuff. Is there anything like in other states or maybe around you that you want to hunt that you haven't had a chance to hunt?
Um, I don't know if I've talked about it, but I love bow hunting rabbits.
Oh, no shit. Let's cover that. How
Um,
successful are you at that? Because I can't even shoot one with a gun.
so rabbits around here are getting kind of, or they're not getting, but they're kind of sparse. When you see one, it, it's not like a uncommon thing, but it's not like quite a common thing. Um, they love to like get up next to the house and like have little babies and stuff. So like when rabbit season comes in, if I see them out there in the yard, just shoot with my bow. And then I was on a farm the other day, just walking around. I was had my bow and arrow with me. I was just had a little target out there with me. I was stretching distance out, and a little rabbit ran out of the briars and like ran up into like another section of briars. I had a gap like for like that much, so like a foot each way. I nailed that thing at like 15 yards. My bow and arrow. That right there will make you like that will be so much better of a hunt than anything you've ever hunted. Bow hunting rabbits.
Yeah, I have a ton of rabbits in my neighborhood. Like it's ungodly. Like I'm talking like hundreds of rabbits in my neighborhood. And
Oh man,
like
don't.
I just cannot bring myself to trap them or kill them. So and instead, like I don't know, it's just like this weird thing. Like I feel like it's not fair. Like they live in this neighborhood and they're just like, I don't know. So I like to drive like 20 or 30 miles and try to stomp out rabbits. I don't know. I'm never really successful at it because I don't have a dog, but I don't know. Maybe I should shoot some of these rabbits around my house. It's
Yeah,
almost like
get
they're
your
my
little.
pets. I don't know. I feel like I'm shooting my dog or something.
Well, I love eating rabbits. I love. I got this one recipe I go to. It's like you make your own barbecue sauce and like cook the rabbit in it. And you baste it the whole time. Man, it's better than chicken. You've eaten rabbit before, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cook it. I'll send you the link for it later, but cook it this way, and you will never want to eat another chicken. Like almost, I hate to say it, but like I almost salivate whenever I see a rabbit because I'm just thinking about the way I can cook it, and it's like, man, that's
Maybe
so good.
I don't know. Maybe you're half coyote or something.
Maybe, man, maybe that's why I started eating beavers and nutria and all that other stuff. And
So I'm gonna ask you this: you guys have possums there, right?
yeah,
You gonna eat a possum? I mean, obviously you're not gonna eat one that's eating out of the dumpster behind Taco Bell, but like a wild possum that like doesn't eat trash, that like lives out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you've eaten a nutria for God's sake. Like, why not a possum?
um. So the thing I've heard about, I actually thought about eating a possum, because they eat so many turkey eggs, and I'm wanting the turkeys to come back to this farm. And I saw one time deer hunting, and I was about to shoot it, and I remembered like you're supposed to take possums and like clean them out, like feed them like potatoes and stuff for like a week, so they'll
Huh.
pass through everything they've been eating, and you can eat them like that. Um, Possums are like omnivores; they'll eat like well, not dead stuff, but they'll eat like eggs, all kinds of parasites like ticks. So you probably want to
Yeah,
clean them out real good.
they definitely eat their fair share of ticks. If you have a possum living around your house, you got a dog, or maybe you don't have a dog, like you're worried about them getting ticks all the time. Uh, Possum's a good thing to keep around. Like I ain't trying to shoot a possum that's hanging around my house.
Yeah, no, I like having possums around, but whenever it comes time for turkeys to lay eggs, that's kind of whenever I'm like, all right, you know, don't let me
Yeah,
don't let me see.
you got plans for your Instagram or your YouTube to do a possum?
I wouldn't say it's out of the question. If I know there's a season on them, and I really don't want to have any troubles with the game warden, so I'd have to wait till turkey season or possum season. But I would definitely do it. Um, I wish I could do one like next week, but I don't think they're in season.
Are
It's
are armadillos a thing around here? Or are you too far north?
um we have a season on them. I think they're farther southwest of me,
Yeah,
towards like Charlotte. So, but I've also heard bad things about armadillos. Do you have them up there where you're at?
they likely travel on trucks or people bring them home, but like I've seen them, and it usually like makes the news. Like somebody hit an armadillo on the highway, so like they're here, but like they're not like you're not gonna go out and like hunt an armadillo. You're gonna be walking for like 5 years trying to find one, but they do have them here.
So, have you ever tried an armadillo?
I haven't, no.
I've heard they got things like leprosy, but I've also heard that's false.
Yeah, I don't know. You may have to ask one of your teachers over at the college to tell you
Yeah,
about that. I mean,
I'm definitely going to do my research into it now, though. Now that you gave me some ideas.
man,
Um,
if you don't put a possum eating video and an armadillo eating video on your YouTube, just consider me to never subscribe to your YouTube. How's that? How's that for a challenge?
all right, I'll make one.
All
I'll
right.
make one just for that then.
I mean, I would try it. I don't know if I'd go out of my way for it, but like maybe if somebody cooked it up, I don't know. Maybe it's good.
You ever had a turtle?
I haven't, no. Heard it's good
Um,
too.
I heard it's like chicken.
Yeah.
I've never had one because
Everybody
they,
compares everything to chicken.
yeah. So I
All
don't know
right.
why.
So, I mean, we're kind of getting close to the end of our show here. Sorry, everybody, about my really raspy voice. I'm trying to gain that back. I've been sucking on some tea and honey and cough drops, and it ain't working. But what would be your number one advice for someone like getting started in hunting? I know you said you hunted as a kid and kind of got out of it and got back in it. Maybe something you learned back then or something you've learned recently.
So my biggest thing is like if you're like brand new to it, just get out there and make as many mistakes as possible. Like your first year, just be like, I don't even want to shoot it. You know, if you're deer hunting, like I wouldn't even worry about shooting a deer your first year. Obviously, like the opportunity, presents itself. Take the animal, but just go out there and learn as much as possible. Knock on doors, get used to, you're going to get a bunch of no's your first year, but just because people don't know who you are as a hunter. But the more you ask, the more you stay consistent with it, um, and the more you learn from your failures, you'll become a better hunter. That's what I've been doing for the past 2 years, and I can say like when I first got back into it to like me now is like two totally different people.
Yeah, it's always a learning process. Every year you feel like you got it locked down. Like shoot a decent buck, shoot a bunch of squirrel, whatever it is, ducks. You're like, man, I got it figured out now.
Yeah.
If you ever think that you got it figured out, you're getting ready to get punched in the face, because the next year you won't have it figured out. And I think that's the fun of it. It's an adventure. Every time it's different. Every time you got to learn from it. And yeah, that's what makes hunting fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, hunting is called hunting for a reason. If it was any easier, it would just be called killing.
Or getting.
I think, dude, you should trademark that.
Yeah, getting.
I don't know
Throw that up on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like getting.
Yeah, just getting. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving us some info on North Carolina, trying to cover a bunch of different states on this podcast. Let everybody know what's up. Maybe people live a couple states away. They're like, oh man, I want to go down there and hunt North Carolina.
Yeah.
Tell everybody where they can connect with you on social media. Maybe somebody wants to eat a possum with you, or like cook nutria or something. I don't know, man.
So my Instagram is 5% TV. It's the number 5, and then the word percent, and then TV. It's all one word, no underscores or anything. Or you can just search up Garret. Those 2 names should pop up pretty quick. Feel free to follow me. Subscribe to my YouTube. It's the same thing, 5% TV. I really like interacting with everybody on both accounts. So don't be afraid to DM me or whatever if you have questions about North Carolina, or if you want to know the beaver recipe or the nutria recipe or anything like that, just shoot me an inbox.
Cool, man. Appreciate it again. And if I'm ever around North Carolina, maybe we'll catch up. If you guys subscribed to Garrett's YouTube or follow him on Instagram, everybody like message him or like blow him up, like, because I want to see him eat a possum. And I'm not sure he's gonna do it, but maybe if 10 or 15 of you message him, maybe we can get him to, I don't know, tell him how you want him to cook it. Maybe you should like roast it over a campfire or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'll let y'all pick the recipe for me if y'all want me to do it that badly.
Yeah, cool, man. All right, I appreciate you, and we'll catch up.
Thank you. All right, man. I look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, we'll see you, man.
See ya.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hunt the Wild podcast. If you enjoyed the show and it's brought you some sort of value, I'd love if you could give me a rating and a review. Just a few seconds of your time can help me better understand the type of content you all enjoy, and it would mean the world to me to hear from all of you.